And on today's show, how using a variety of sensory communication styles can enhance your message. Part 4 of this week's series on what women want from financial advisors. With nationally recognized woman strategist, adult educator, and adjunct professor at Roosevelt University, Dr. Barb Provo. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Insmark, Life Specs, and Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 4, Dr. Barb.
Thank you.
Wow, I'm having a whole learning experience. My learning curve is steep, I have to say. After I've been married to the same girl for 40 years, I have 4 daughters, and you think you'd be able to figure this out by now, and I have to say that I am not the savant in the things of women. I want to talk about sensory perception, because now we're engaging. We have the engagement. We talked about this yesterday. And you brought up issues like visual, some are visual learners, some are audio learners. Talk a bit about the whole sensory perception and what does that mean, and does that mean I bring something with me?
Yes, sure, it certainly does. So when people are learning, and as we've talked about, you are in a learning situation. You are the facilitator and teaching your client about what they need to know to make a good decision. So how do people learn? They learn differently. Some people will learn by you telling them information. Some people will want to watch you maybe draw a diagram on a piece of paper about how a product works. You may even be able to come in with a diagram that we might call like an advanced organizer, or something that already shows a model about how something works, so they can see, where the money goes in here and what happens, and they get the understanding of, okay, I understand, I can see a visual picture of the flow or what's going to happen, or whatever the concept is that you're trying to explain. Also, sometimes people like to learn on their own, so you might give them references to either websites or documentation to take home and read when they have some time to think things through and take notes on their own. So there's lots of different ways that you can approach conveying information to your client.
I'm thinking of, some people are audio. They like music. They like poetry. They like to hear. They go to events that have a lot of action. But a lot of people that I've met are visual. And to your point about drawing, or having a diagram, or having something visual and in concept form before going into a deep actual unpacking or unbundling. I'm curious, do we have stats on, are women more visual than audio, or do we have any kind of idea where that lands?
I don't think so. I think it's about just getting a really good explanation. I think an important thing to remember is, am I explaining something well enough that person can then take that concept and turn around and speak to a friend or colleague and say, here's a product he's suggesting and this is how it works, and convey and articulate it back. If they can't do that, then they don't know what they're buying.
Well, you use another one besides audio and visual. You talk about verbal learners, people who learn. And that's a scary thought when I think about, wow, I actually have to have good vocabulary here. I have to have good concept and no industrial language and no acronyms.
True.
Right? Really conveying a concept that's easy to understand and easy concept. 2 shows ago, if you missed our show on Tuesday, I believe Dr. Barb brought up the issue of, wow, women are leaving your meeting and they're going to their social networking groups. And in their social networking groups, they're trying to regurgitate what you told them to their friends.
True.
And if you can become a skillful verbal person in your communication, this could be huge, because she could be a huge echo or parroting for your practice, because she's taking this out to her social media, to her social connects. True,
and even if you can give her something that is a takeaway, something simple, not dense. A lot of the brochures and information that we see has there's not a lot of white space, a lot of words on there. And sometimes people will just dismiss that, but if a picture tells 1,000 words. If you can really provide something that's simple and easy, that you can easily convey, articulate, explain to them, that they could then walk away and then later have a conversation with someone and explain back to them, then you've really hit the mark.
Now you talk about some people are actually solitary learners. They listen to what you said, they're going to go check it out themselves.
Exactly, yes.
So, and do you think that's a majority of women, or no, that's a smaller percentage?
I don't know the percentage offhand, but you just have to make sure that you're prepared for any type of learner that you might have in front of you. And it doesn't mean you need a vast array of things. You just need to kind of say, would you like some information to take with you? And someone might say, I'd like to read something later and think more about this. That's somebody that wants some reference material, perhaps. Or, the thing is, if you draw a picture for someone and you're having the conversation, then you hand them that yellow piece of paper, they can't always recreate what you've just said because you've said it in dialogue. So something that's a little bit more concrete would be helpful, something like that.
Well, I'm thinking there's also I love one of your categories you say here is social learners, and they prefer to learn in groups. And I think in a seminar, it would be ideal to have everybody that was a social learner in that room, because then they're going to listen to other people's questions. Oh, that was what I wanted to say.
Very powerful. Yeah. Yes, very powerful, especially for women who like to network and talk and kind of ask their questions, learn from one another. And they, women are, they like to talk with one another, share their stories, share some time together, and learn from one another.
I saw another one that I really like. Logical learners, they like the idea of, during your facilitation, you bring a problem and you show how you solve it.
Yes, exactly. Those are the people that are more I would say more of a mathematician. They like the puzzles, they like to think things through. That's good application too for learning in terms of, here's a concept, how do I apply it in a real world environment?
I notice certain people are physical learners. They like demonstrative people. They're people with hands. They're expressive. They wear their emotions on their sleeve. People, they kind of like the touch.
Yeah.
Those people are a big block, in my view, especially on live seminars. You're going by the table. You're saying, how would you do that? And they answered correctly. Good answer. And you're shaking their hand. Good answer. You're reaffirming what they did. So there's a lot of it. There's so many of these categories. I keep thinking, how can I remember which engagement to use with these? And this is why we have to study and practice this. It's part of our engagement, not part of our sales process.
True, and my fear is that people get into their rote, routine sales process. And what I'm trying to show here is they need to break out of that and really rethink how they're doing what they're doing, because there's so many different opportunities out there that they can really connect with if they consider all the different options of how to convey, build relationship and engagement with their client.
We come back from the break, we're going to talk about why all this matters for financial advisors, and you need to start picking up on this. In fact, you might even discover, are you visual? Are you audio? Are you olfactory? We'll be right back after the break. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. Of course, we're with Dr. Barb Provost. She's walking us through a lot of these sensory perception issues. And years ago, when you were on my show, you told a great story that really helped me understand. Actually, it introduced me to the world that you live in. It was called the skirt story, how a woman purchased a skirt. And I found it so revealing. It helped me understand all these engagement issues that we talked about in the first segment are all in play in this story. True. So I'd like you to share that.
Well, the skirt story is about going out to buy just a simple black skirt. Now, I'm sure you've shopped with your wife, your daughters, you go to the mall. We see a lot of men at the mall waiting.
not
waiting on the bench, right?
Exactly, that's me.
Yeah, waiting for their wives and daughters to go in and out of the stores. So just to buy a simple black skirt, it could seem a lot like this. You go to the mall, you go into one of the stores that you like, you see there's a black skirt. Now, a man might say, what size? Picked it out, we're done. Not so much. Let me try this black skirt on. And you're like, yeah, it fits, but you know what? It's not really the length that I want, so let me try a different one. Don't really find one here at this store. I'm going to go to a different store. There's a black skirt. Okay, we're done. No, we're not done. Let me try this on. You know what? It's not really the fabric that I want. It's knit. I was really thinking about something different, a little bit more clingy, so I have to try a different one on, The length, the zipper, is there a pocket? Isn't there a pocket? What kind of fabric is it made out of? Is it formal? Is it informal? Is it too long? Will I have to get this shortened? Is it dry clean? Can I wash it myself? These are all the things that are going through a woman's mind when she's just buying a simple black skirt.
Well, you said it was a simple black skirt, and in my mind, you just complicate it with multifaceted angles on this.
There's a lot of options out there.
And I remember when I first heard the story, you said you were even thinking of even the dry cleaning as a green kind of an issue, environmental issue.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't want to do that, so forth. So
people are thinking far beyond, what you might think they're thinking in terms of, do I want to have those chemicals on my body if I do have to have a dry clean?
So I'm trying to now convert that thinking into, there are, and I was just thinking about, I just want to buy a lifetime annuity because I want income that I can't outlive. It sounds so simple, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, but I got 50 to 60 top of the line annuities that do all that. And which one am I going to pick?
Yeah, well, that's where your expertise comes in.
All right, but I'm trying to convert that into your format now.
Right.
See, so I'm trying to say, okay, based on the skirt story, right? I want to be able to say, well, I know you said I'm looking for a black skirt. I'm looking for an annuity, lifetime annuity that I cannot outlive. That's an appeal. That's a great appeal for women, especially because they're going to be living longer than men.
Absolutely.
They'll never outlive this income.
Okay.
And it has an inflationary rider. It goes up every time. Okay, now, but I have many stores to go to. I have many annuities to go to. And if I'm thinking like you suggested, I think my female client would say, why am I going to that specific, why are you recommending that specific one? Mm-hmm. Because I haven't talked about the potpourri that's out there.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I'm trying to think of how I would convert my thinking based on your story.
Yeah, that's a difficult question because, again, it comes with you using your expertise to put in front of her maybe a couple of different annuities and how they are similar or different from one another and how they might meet her financial goals and the different options that she might have. And maybe instead of, I wouldn't give her all 80, 90, 100 of them, but maybe the top 3 or 4 that you might suggest based on what she's told you are some things that she can consider and select from or ask questions about and say there are more, but based on what you told me, here are some options that you could choose from. So not giving her just one product, but maybe some options and explaining the features and benefits of each for her to choose.
Now, you just brought up something that just clicked in my mind as a bit of an anomaly in my thinking. Some advisors are what we call they're single shingle sellers. They have their product, their proprietary company, that's all they show. Do you find women don't want to even talk to people like this? They want a very big inventory, or at least a choice. They want selection. I mean, when you're talking about the skirt story, I'm thinking, no woman's going to sit there and say, there's the black skirt, it fits me fine. The fabric's not that big a deal. The length is okay. They're not going to micromanage it like you said in the story. Oh, no, that's not true. They are going to do that.
Well, I can't imagine a woman even having a conversation with someone who's going to sell the same product to her, her neighbor, everybody else down the street, because that's showing they're not paying any attention to what the needs are, individual needs of that person, desires, what they want, what their future holds, whatever. Because one skirt doesn't fit all. The one size fit all doesn't work because it shows that you're just selling a product. It's very transactional, and you're not paying at all attention to what her unique needs are.
Well, I think this is a huge issue because to me, people who are, and this is, I don't mean to paint my own wagon here, but I love the idea of being in brokerage where you have access to all this. And so that you're coming and you're not coming with what your proprietary company's product, you're coming with whatever product is the best product for her specific situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to me, that's a huge issue. And I think that you're going to find that probably about 25% of what's sold in America is sold by proprietary single shingle thinkers.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big. Before I close out, I have to ask you one last question. When I'm looking at all the sensory that was in that story, right? The one that really stood out to me the most was the actual physical fabric. Now, from a guy, that was my anomalous thinking. So it has to have a feel to it. It's not just how it wears. It do have to be comfortable. Certain slacks, I remember as a young man, I think they had all wool slacks. I hated them. They itched all the time, right? But it was a good bargain. It was great for winter time, right? But I didn't like it. It felt, it didn't feel good to wear.
Right.
So when you were talking about different fabrics, there has to be a place. It's not just looking good. It's not just the economy or the ecology of it all, of dry cleaning or washing. I actually have to be okay with this. I have to be comfortable in this.
It's the intuition.
Right.
It's the female intuition of feeling like this is a good choice.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Just hop out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.